Have you ever looked at your beloved pet and felt a shiver? A sense that something else was looking back at you? We love our furry companions. We trust him. They are family. But what if that trust was broken? Not by the pet itself, but by something that took its place. This is a story about a family, a new home, and their little black cat, Luna. It's a story that blurs the line between the living and the dead, and it might just make you look at your own pet a little differently tonight. It all started when the Miller family moved into a century-old house on the outskirts of town. It was their dream home, a sprawling Victorian with a huge yard, perfect for their 2 kids. And, of course, for Luna. Luna was a sleek, affectionate black cat, the kind that would purr on your lap for hours and greet you at the door. She was the heart of the family. In the first few weeks, everything was perfect. The kids explored the creaky old house. The parents painted and unpacked, and Luna seemed to love her new kingdom, chasing sunbeams across the old hardwood floors. But then, the change began. It was subtle at first. Luna, who'd always been a social butterfly, started spending more and more time alone. She'd sit for hours at the top of the grand staircase, not sleeping, just staring. Staring down into the empty foyer with an intensity that was unsettling. Sometimes, her head would slowly track something invisible across the room. Mrs. Miller would call her name, but Luna wouldn't even flinch. Completely lost in her silent watch, they chalked it up to the stress of the move. New house, new smells. She just needed time to adjust. They couldn't have been more wrong. The behavior escalated. One evening, the family was watching a movie together in the living room. Luna, who usually curled up on a blanket, was sitting both upright in the doorway. Suddenly, a low, guttural growl rumbled from her chest, a sound they had never heard her make. Her fur was on end, her back arched. She was staring into the darkest corner of the room, a corner that was completely empty. Mr. Miller got up and turned on the light. There was nothing there, but Luna kept growling, her eyes fixed on that spot, filled with a mix of fear and aggression. It was the first time they felt a genuine chill, a feeling that they weren't alone in the house, and that their cat could see what they couldn't. Life continued, but with a new, low-level anxiety humming in the background. Luna's strange vigils became a normal part of their day. She'd hiss at empty chairs, swat at thin air, and refuse to enter certain rooms. Rooms that now felt colder than the rest of the house. The kids started getting scared. They said Luna wasn't their cat anymore. She wouldn't play, she barely purred, and her once warm, green eyes now seemed distant and cold. The vet found nothing wrong with her. Physically, Luna was perfectly healthy, but the Millers knew, deep down, that the problem wasn't physical. It was something else. Something ancient and tied to the very walls they now lived in. The first tragedy struck on a crisp autumn morning. Mrs. Miller's mother, who had been battling an illness for some time, but was stable, passed away unexpectedly in her sleep at the hospital. The family was devastated as they gathered in the kitchen, absorbing the terrible news. The eldest daughter let out a small gasp. She was pointing at the doorway. There sat Luna, perfectly still, perfectly silent, staring directly at Mrs. Miller. There was no emotion in her gaze, just an unnerving, placid observation. It was as if she had been waiting. It was creepy, but in their grief, they pushed the thought aside. A horrible, unsettling coincidence. 2 years passed. The family learned to live with the new Luna. They still loved her, but the easy affection was gone, replaced by a cautious respect. They avoided the corners she growled at and learned to ignore her strange staring contests with the walls. They tried to tell themselves it was just a quirky cat in a creaky house, but the feeling that she was a sentinel, a gatekeeper to something unseen, never truly left them. They had settled into a fragile peace, a truce with the unknown. But that peace was about to be shattered once more. The next incident was even more chilling and undeniable. Mr. Miller's uncle, a hale and hearty man, was visiting for the weekend. He was laughing and telling stories at the dinner table. The picture of health. Throughout the dinner, Luna sat on the floor by his chair, staring up at him, not begging for food, not looking for a scratch behind the ears, just staring. The uncle joked about it, saying, "This cat is trying to stare into my soul." Later that evening, As he went up to the guest room, Luna followed him. She sat outside his closed door all night. The Millers found it odd, but didn't think too much of it. The next morning, the uncle didn't come down for breakfast. Mr. Miller went to check on him. He had passed away from a massive, silent heart attack in the night. And there, at the foot of the bed, sat Luna, just as she had been with Mrs. Miller's mother Asila, knowing observer. Now, there was no denying it. It wasn't a coincidence. Twice, a death in the family had been preceded by Luna's strange, focused behavior. She wasn't just acting weird. She was an omen, a harbinger of death. The realization was horrifying. The creature that slept in their home, the pet their children had grown up with, was somehow connected to the moment of passing. The Millers were terrified. Was Luna possessed? Was she a psychic, sensitive to the final moments of life? Or was the spirit residing in her something else entirely, something ancient tied to the house, using the cat as its vessel to watch the final moments of those whose time had come? The family couldn't bear it any longer. They couldn't look at their cat without seeing a grim reaper in a fur coat. With heavy hearts, they made the difficult decision. They couldn't keep her. They found a remote animal sanctuary, a place far away in the countryside, and explained the situation. They probably sounded crazy, but the sanctuary agreed to take her. The day they drove her there was one of the saddest days of their lives. As they left her, Luna just watched them go with those same cold, unreadable eyes. There was no sadness, no fear, just that same placid, eternal watchfulness. Years have gone by since the Millers left Luna at the sanctuary. There have been no more unexpected deaths in their family. Their old Victorian house feels lighter, warmer. It's just a house now, not a place holding its breath. But they never forgot Luna. Or rather, what Luna became. The story raises a terrifying question. Can a soul, or a spirit, inhabit any form? We think of ghosts as human-shaped apparitions, rattling chains in hallways. But what if they are quieter? What if they watch us through the familiar eyes of a creature we love and trust? What if the spirit in your pet isn't the one you think it is? It's a chilling thought, and one that proves the most terrifying ghost stories are the ones that could be sleeping at the foot of your own bed. Thanks for joining me on this dive into the unknown. If this story sent a shiver down your spine, hit that like button and subscribe for more true tales of the strange and supernatural. And let me know in the comments, has your pet ever done something you just couldn't explain? Stay safe, and always be aware of what might be watching from the shadows.